The Sixers have made their first move of trade deadline day. Of course, they traded away Jared McCain yesterday, but here on this trade deadline, Philadelphia is trading Eric Gordon away to the Memphis Grizzlies in a move that I really think is much more about what this means for the rest of the Sixers roster and what they're going to do moving forward rather than what they're actually receiving in this trade, because it's really a whole lot of nothing. We're going to break it down here on the show, but guys, this is why you hit that subscribe button. Of course, anytime the Sixers make any kind of move, even if it's a trade like this Eric Gordon trade, we're going to give you a full video to break it down right here on the channel. We're trying to hit 25,000 subscribers, and we're actually currently live on the channel as well for the trade deadline. So shout out to everybody who's joining us right now for our live program. That's why you hit that sub button and turn on your notifications. So let's get to the actual details of this trade. And look, they're certainly not going to jump off the page to you by any means, but we, of course, will discuss it and how this will impact the Sixers moving forward. Some people are going to be upset that this is really all that's happened so far, but, you know, if it does lead to another move here coming shortly, then it will at least be worth it, right? So here's a trade. Sixers sending Eric Gordon and a 2032 second to the Memphis Grizzlies, who I imagine are probably going to cut Eric Gordon. And then the Grizzlies send back the Sixers another 2032 second round pick. So really, the teams swap second round picks. The Sixers do this to send Eric Gordon, his salary, and his roster spot away to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, let's just start first talking about Eric Gordon. Look, it was a no-brainer. We all knew coming into today, and really for the past few weeks, that Eric Gordon was going to be dealt by Philadelphia. Not in their rotation, right? He's an older guy. Obviously has a relationship with Daryl Morey, but was not in the rotation and was never going to be in the rotation. He was a guy who the Sixers were always going to use his salary, I thought at least, maybe to make another deal to add some money on to bring in a better player. But once again, as is with the Jared McCain trade, you kind of make a move that doesn't really do a whole lot for you this year. Not that Eric Gordon meant a whole lot to the Sixers anyways, and as we'll get to in a second, this could certainly lead to another move happening. Sixers bringing in another player by opening up this roster spot. But really what this move is about is what this is going to lead to for Philadelphia. Now the Sixers, look, in this guards rotation they have now, because they traded away Jerry McCain, which we'll also touch on again here in a moment. You know, you have Maxey, you have VJ, and you have Grimes. Outside of that, it's looking pretty thin for a guard rotation that we thought was going to be almost overkill, right, heading into the season. And so now you chip away Eric Gordon, some second-round picks. The main point of this trade, though, is to open up that roster spot. So what this means now for Philadelphia is they now have 3 open roster spots. They do have to sign some of their two-way guys, but this does open up a little bit of extra money. Sixers now a little over $5 million under the luxury tax line, and a little more than that under the first apron, and 3 roster spots available to sign some players. Now, of course, one of those is going to be for Dominick Barlow, and Shams Charania, when he did break the trade, did specifically mention this move happening because Philadelphia wanted to open up the space to sign Dominick Barlow. And look, obviously signing Dominick Barlow is a no-brainer, especially with the Paul George injury. He's stepping in to that starting lineup, and he's going to play a big role for the Sixers. You know, regardless of whether Paul George is in there or not, he is going to play a big role coming off a couple of huge games against the Clippers and against the Warriors, where, you know, he's a big factor hitting the glass, getting offensive rebounds, being a hustle guy, energy and effort, even hitting a few more of his three-pointers as of late. So, you know, you trade away McCain, you trade away Gordon, open up a roster spot for Barlow. Makes a lot of sense. He's a guy that you absolutely need to have under contract because, again, Barlow is on a two-way deal, but his days are very quickly running out. Now, as a part of this move, and subsequently with this move, Philadelphia is signing Charles Bassey to another 10-day deal. So I have to imagine what they're going to do is sign Jabari Walker first to a standard contract because Jabari Walker is completely out of NBA days. Then they're going to sign Charles Bassey, that 10-day. I imagine they'll sign a player in the buyout market. I'll have my buyout market targets. Just a quick look at some guys coming up on the other side of this video. But then they'll sign Dominick Barlow to his full 10-day or to his full standard contract once his days have run out. As for Jabari Walker, we'll talk about him really quickly because he's another guy that will probably be converted to a standard deal from his two-way contract. Look, this kind of goes back to the Jared McCain deal for me. Like, Walker early in the season, did show a lot, and I thought he was certainly deserving of a standard contract. But over the past few games, over his last 9 games, Jabari Walker has played a total of 40 minutes, and 20 of those came in that blowout that the Sixers lost to the Charlotte Hornets by, almost 50 points. They were down at one point. So, really it's more about trading away Jared McCain for Jabari Walker that I'm a little more upset about, right? Opening up that roster spot. The Eric Gordon thing, it is what it is. They're not going to miss him, right? But is Jabari Walker really worthy, I really think about it, of a standard contract? I'm kind of unsure about that. So we shall see. But the Sixers, of course, as I mentioned off the top, making this trade for Eric Gordon. Just to recap it, just a swap of second-round picks. So really, at the end of the day, not the biggest of deals. Where it will matter, though, is what they use these roster spots for. By trading away McCain for nothing, by trading away Gordon for nothing, you're opening up some roster spots. So, man, you better hope that you do something with these roster spots outside of just signing a Dominick Barlow and a Jabari Walker to their standard contract. So coming up just around the corner, we're going to go through what the Sixers can do with those roster spots, of course, outside of signing their two-way guys, because there are some options that I think make some sense for Philadelphia if they want to actually make an impactful move, an impactful addition onto their roster. First, grade the trade for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And real quick, before we get to some of those buyout targets that Philadelphia can sign in the buyout market, I'm going to tell you guys about our sponsor here today, and that is Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season outright with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats, and you can win some big time money. It's great to use during a sporting event where maybe your favorite team isn't playing and you want to be a little more invested in the actual game. Prize Picks helps you do that. A great feature of Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature, you can share your Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. You can copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. Prize Picks always offering some great specials as well. And this week, Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game live in the app now. Drake May just needs 1 passing yard for the max discount to win. Just add another player to your lineup. And if your picks hit, you can cash in. Simple as that. So, download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So as I mentioned off the top, this trade here for Philadelphia, sending away Eric Gordon and, of course, a Jared McCain trade as well, part of this conversation, is all about the roster spots they are opening up. So with 3 open roster spots, I mentioned they're going to sign Barlow. I mentioned they're going to sign Walker. But what else could they do with that final roster spot? Because that will determine if these trades are truly worth it or not. These are some of the top NBA buyout candidates right now. And as we look at this list, there's really one name in particular that I am looking at. So here are the top guys. Drummond is listed on here. This is from our NBA team here. It's certainly a possibility if the Sixers do get another center and they make another trade, but I wouldn't bet Drummond does get bought out. I bet he does stay on Philadelphia. But some other names to watch out for here on the buyout market, and we'll dive more in depth into a lot of these guys on a video once the deadline is officially over. But for now, we'll kind of focus in on one name. That's Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball is a guy that I think Philadelphia needs to use that final roster spot on. Some other names, of course, we'll run through them quickly. Chris Paul, I'm good. Chris Middleton would be an intriguing option. He got traded to the Mavericks in the Anthony Davis trade. I'm good on Mike Conley. He was unplayable for the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's a reason they sent him away in their trade to land Ayo Dosunmu. Some other buyout candidates, George Niang could have a reunion here in Philadelphia, as could Matisse Thybulle, DeMar DeRozan. A buyout candidate, although there's been some reporting that the Kings are not going to buy out DeMar DeRozan. Brook Lopez, as the Clippers have traded Zubac, they seem to be in full sale mode. That could be an interesting option if he does become available. Marvin Bagley's a guy that I would like to look at as well. Same with Haywood Highsmith, right? So I think some of those forwards, Bagley, Highsmith, maybe Brook Lopez as well, could be intriguing options. But again, the guy I really want to focus in on here is Lonzo Ball. And some of you might be like, oh, Chip, why are we going to get another guard? Well, look, by trading away Gordon and Jared McCain, all of a sudden the Sixers have another big need at the guard spot, right? And in particular, I think you have a need at the guard spot with someone who can run your offense, right? Yeah, you have Maxey. Obviously, Maxey can run the offense with no problem. But you need somebody coming off the bench who can be that true point guard for you, because VJ Edgecombe's obviously not that. Quentin Grimes is obviously not that. Lonzo Ball, assuming he's bought out from the Jazz, which Shams Charania did report, would at least be able to do that. Now, offensively, Lonzo's had an awful season. There's a reason Cleveland traded him away basically for nothing, right? But all he would have to do for Philadelphia is run the offense, make some good passes. He's got good positional size at 6'6", 205, very good defender. If the offense can click and come around, the shot can come around a little bit, this could be a great option here. So really, with the Eric Gordon trade, again, kind of bringing it all back to the main topic of the show, which is this move being made. Look, obviously not a big deal that Eric Gordon is gone. Really, again, I'm looking at if this is the way the Sixers are going to go, and Daryl Morey is going to decide that at this deadline, Philadelphia is going to prioritize opening up some roster spots and a little bit of money. What are you going to do with those roster spots in a year where I think the Sixers have a chance to make some noise and contend in the East? That's really what I'm going to be looking at. And of course, we'll keep you updated if anything else does happen, which, shoot, I hope Daryl Morey does something, or else I'm going to be pretty pissed off. I already am a little upset with Daryl Morey at the way that these moves and the way he's handled this trade deadline. So, of course, be sure to hit that sub button. Depending when you're seeing this, we might still be live. So be sure to check out the channel for that, for our trade deadline coverage. And for more news, rumors, and analysis all year long, be sure to hit that sub button. If another trade happens, of course, we'll make another video. So keep it locked right here on 76ers Now.